There's a choice we have to make as people, as individuals. If you want to be great at something, you have to make inherent sacrifices that come along with that. Family time, hanging out with your friends. So at the age of 18, I knew that I was not going to be stopped. This was my life. We all can be masters at our craft, but you have to make sacrifices that come along with making that decision.
On January 26, Kobe Bryant and his daughter were among 9 people who were killed in a helicopter crash in Calabasas, California. He dominated in basketball, he was dominating in business. And as a tribute to him, my team and I pulled together a mix of some of the best lessons you can learn from him, be inspired by him, and remember him. I hope you enjoy. Lesson number 1, outwork everyone.
I've been with you for a long way. The one moment that stands out of, we've done, I don't know how many done, we've done what, 800 events. Mm-hmm. The one time was 4 a.m. We went out to practice at 4 a.m. And that was your idea to do it. But and then, you know, all these Nike people are like, no, let's not do that. And then you're like, let's do it at 4 a.m. So you got security, you got brand marketing, sports marketing going, no, let's not do it. You're like, let's do it. Because that's your sustenance, right?
I mean, to me, it just makes complete sense.
Not to us.
But I don't, like, okay, so.
See, all right. Usually, I'm sleeping at 4 a.m. You're working out. So talk about that.
Okay, so if your job is to try to be the best basketball player you can be, mm-hmm. right? To do that, you have to practice, you have to train, right? You want to train as much as you can, as often as you can. So if you get up at 10 in the morning, train at 11, right? 12, say 12, train at 12, train for 2 hours, 12 to 2. You have to let your body recover. So you eat, recover, whatever. You get back out, you train, start training again at 6. Train from 6 to 8, right? And now you go home, you shower, you eat dinner, you go to bed, you wake up, you do it again, right? Those are 2 sessions, right? Now imagine you wake up at 3, you train at 4. You go 4 to 6, come home, breakfast, relax, blah, blah, blah. Now you're back at it again, 9 to 11, right? You relax, and now all of a sudden you're back at it again, 2 to 4, and now you're back at it again, you know, 7 to 9. Look how much more training I have done by simply starting at 4, right? And so now you do that, and as the years go on, the separation that you have with your competitors and your peers just grows larger and larger and larger and larger and larger. And by year 5 or 6, doesn't matter what kind of work they do in the summer, they're never going to catch up because they're 5 years behind. Right? So it makes sense to get up and start your day early because you can get more work in.
Is that genetic? Or is that something you ingrained and trained yourself?
No, it was
Who
just,
taught you that?
For me, it was just common sense. Like I can if I start earlier, I can train more hours. And I know the other guys aren't doing it because I know what their training schedule is. Right? So I know if I do this consistently over time, the gap's just going to widen and widen and widen and widen and widen, and they won't be able to get that back. Mm-hmm. So to me, it was just common sense and like thinking, how can I get an advantage? Oh, start earlier. Yeah, let's do that.
How do you develop that, or where do you learn that from?
Well, I think it's just it's just a matter of what's important to you, mm-hmm. and what's important to you for whatever reason. I felt like I didn't feel good about myself if I wasn't doing everything I could to be the best version of myself. Mm-hmm. If I felt like I left anything on the table, it would eat away at me. I wouldn't be able to look myself in the mirror. Right? So the reason why I can retire now and be completely comfortable about it because I know that I've done everything I could to be the best basketball player I could be. Mm-hmm. And so that's where it comes from for me. You can't leave any stone unturned. I think the best way to prove your value is to work, is to learn, is to absorb, to be a sponge. Right? But you always want to outwork your potential. As hard as you believe you can work harder than that. And that's what I tried to do when I first came in the league. But, basketball is such a direct competition sport that me coming in at 17, I hated when, like, my teammates would say, I get hit with an elbow, right? Shaq would hit me with an elbow in practice. And, like, Nick Van Exel would come up and say, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "What? Are you okay? What the hell is wrong with you?" So like I always had that extra chip on my shoulder. So like every day in practice for me was really trying to annihilate everybody that I was playing against. Because I wanted to prove you don't need to babysit me. Like I'm fine, And so it's always that competitive nature, the work ethic, and curiosity. Because I asked a lot of questions. Playing with Byron Scott, I asked him a lot of questions. Eddie Jones, who was great at chasing guards off the screens, and I didn't understand how to do that. I would sit with him before practice, after practice. Magic, James Worthy, Kurt Rambis, Kareem Abdul, all the Laker greats. I would always sit down and just ask them questions about certain games that I studied growing up. What actually happened there? What did you feel there? Why? Bird tough to defend. Why? Because you look slow as shit to me. So I'm missing something. So tell me what I'm missing. You know what I mean? And so I would always ask questions and try to learn as much as I could.
Lesson number 2, be a long-term thinker.
I had a summer where I played basketball when I was 10 or 11 years old in a very prominent summer league in Philadelphia called the Sunny Hill League, where my father played, my uncle played, and they were all-time greats and such stuff. And Wilt Chamberlain played in the league, Earl of Monroe played in the league. And here I come playing, and I don't score 1 point the entire summer.
Really?
Not one.
How old were you?
11, 10, 11.
And you're playing against other 10, 11-year-olds? Or you didn't score once?
Not one.
Were you in the game?
I was in the game.
How'd you not score?
Because I was terrible.
Really?
Yeah.
At 10, 11 years old, you were that terrible.
Awful. I mean, and I had these big knee pads on because I was growing really fast. I had socks all the way up here, and I had the high top
skinny,
fade, skinny as hell. And I scored not a free throw, nothing, not a lucky shot, not a breakaway layup, 0 points.
Is that when you think the mentality of hard work started to come in for you at that age, when you failed so miserably, I guess, that summer?
I think that's when the idea of understanding a long-term view became important, because I wasn't going to catch these kids in a week. I wasn't going to catch them in a year, right? So that's when I sat down and said, okay, this is going to take some thought, all right? What do I want to work on first? All right, shooting. All right, let's knock this out. Let's focus on this. Half a year, 6 months, do nothing but shoot. All right, after that, all right, creating your own shot. And then you focus. So I started creating a menu of things. When I came back the next summer, I was a little bit better, right? And
a menu being I've got my jump shot from 15, I've got my
I got my jump shot from 15, I got my three-point shot, just open shots, not miss open shots, right? Be able to shoot it with speed, because those kids are so much more athletic.
Yeah.
And then the next summer I came back, I was a little better. And the summer came back,
next
summer I was a little better. I scored.
Yeah,
it wasn't much, but I scored.
And this is 12, 13.
12, 13. And then 14 came around, back half of 13, 14 years old, and then I was just killing everyone. And it happened in 2 years. And I wasn't expecting it to happen in 2 years, but it did, because what I had to do was work on the basics and the fundamentals, while they relied on their athleticism and their natural ability. And because I stick to the fundamentals, it just caught up to them. And then my body, my knees stopped hurting. I grew into my frame. And
then your athleticism, once you have the fundamentals, the hard work, the mindset, and you tack on the athleticism, it's game over.
Then it was game over.
Wow. So from 13, you're good, average still?
I was good. And then about the end of my right when I was turning 14, I became the best player in the state.
At 14?
At 14.
So from 12 to 14, you went from scoring 0 to being the best in the state of all ages.
Yep.
Lesson number 3, have a strong purpose.
Trivial things weren't going to pull my attention. It had to be things weren't going to pull my attention. It had to be things that I had a purpose. I wanted to be one of the best basketball players to ever play. And anything else that was outside of that lane, I didn't have time for.
At what age did that goal become crystal clear?
I made that deal with myself at 13 years old.
At 13 years old?
13 years old. That's the deal I made.
You were crystal clear about it?
Crystal clear.
And where did inspiration come from?
The love of the game. The love of the game, the challenge. I would watch Magic play, I'd watch Michael play, and I would see them do these unbelievable things, and I'd say, can I get to that level? I don't know, but let's find out.
Lesson number 4, get better every single day.
My philosophy was a very simple one. And this is where I think film plays a big part of my life. Rudy was one of my favorite films growing up. After watching that film, I come to understand if I could work that hard every day, with being blessed with the physical tools that I have, what would my career be? And I made a promise to myself from that day that I was going to work that hard every single day, so that when I do retire, I have no regrets. And that was the most important thing for me, is to leave no stone unturned, get better every single day. And if I lived that way, then over time, I'd have something that was beautiful. But that was my philosophy. It seems like a pretty simple one, but if you live your life to just get better every single day, and do that for 20 years, what do you have?
Lesson number 5, follow your passion.
Follow your passion first. First. When I retired from the game, I sat there asking kind of all the wrong questions. What's the biggest industry I can get into? And it's all the wrong stuff. And you got to sit there and ask yourself, okay, what am I truly passionate about? What do I enjoy doing? And when you feel that way, honestly, you feel like you have never worked a day in your life. It's the most fun thing in the world. You get up in the morning excited about what you're doing. And you got to be really honest with yourself about it. If you wake up in the morning and you're dreading going to work, dude, do something else. Right. Do something else. And those are hard decisions to make. But when you make those decisions, it's a very liberating experience. And you find out that the rewards will come.
Lesson number 6, commit fully.
You said, I read a quote that you said you love business as much as basketball. There's no way that's true.
It's 100% true.
There's no way. Basketball was your life, your passion, everything. You're telling me you love doing business as much. If you could, basically snap a finger and be 25-year-old Kobe or the Kobe today, you wouldn't go back and keep playing basketball?
No, because I've already done it. See, here's the thing. When I was playing and teammates would say, oh, Kobe's not out on the road. What is he doing? You see me on the plane, he's reading. What is he reading? He's writing. What is he writing? Mm-hmm. I'm practicing. Mm-hmm. I'm writing. I'm practicing. I'm understanding how to tell stories. I'm reading Joseph Campbell and how to create arcs, compelling arcs and plots. I'm reading that stuff. So this is going back 15 years, right? So I don't just retire, write Dear Basketball, and luck into winning an Oscar. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. That stuff comes from hard work and from studying for 15 years how to write and how to organize structure, right? And you can't do that without having a serious love or commitment to the craft.
Lesson number 7, focus on one thing.
Do you think one of the edge you had over everybody else was the biggest percentage of your focus was on one thing? Mm-hmm. Do you see it that way? Like that was my edge over everybody else?
I do. At the time, I didn't really understand that. Right, so, basketball for me was the most important thing. So everything I saw, whether it was TV shows, whether it was books I read, people I talked to, everything was done to try to learn how to become a better basketball player. Everything. And so when you have that point of view, then literally the world becomes your library to help you to become better at your craft.
Lesson number 8, be the best you can be.
And I was wondering if you've had to tone down your competitiveness and your approach in a new work environment.
Yeah. More than a little bit.
Yeah.
No, like I said, basketball is different because it's such a direct competition. What we do now, there isn't. The competitiveness that I bring to work every day is really helping people, in a sense, be competitive with themselves. Right? If you're animating something or you're writing a screenplay or you're composing a piece of music, is that the best you can do? Right? Don't ask me. Don't say, okay, do you approve? Don't ask me. I'm not the musician. I'm not the composer. You know. Mm-hmm. Right? So the competitiveness is more from an individual perspective. Is this the best you can do? And if the answer is yes, then off we go.
Lesson number 9, study success.
Kind of take us behind kind of the current with Michael. Was there ever a moment that you guys spoke that you felt like it energized you and you learned from him?
Yeah, it was crazy, man, because my favorite player was Magic growing up. Mm. And then I quickly realized my father stole all my height and I wasn't going to be a 6'9" point guard. So I had to, so I looked at this young guy coming up. And the thing that I marveled at wasn't the fact that he was getting to the rim and doing these fancy stuff. It was like, how is he getting to the rim? Mm. How is he doing it? Right? And you look at the footwork, you look at the fundamentals, you look at the spacing, the pacing, right? And all those little things, the angles. Mm. And that's what becomes fascinating. It's like, okay, how do I get there? Right? So I started studying all those basics. Mm-hmm. And then when I came to the league, the first time I played against him, I won his respect because it was like, this kid's not scared of me at all. Mm-hmm. Right? And he saw a kindred spirit from that standpoint. Mm-hmm. And that started a relationship. And it became something where it was like, text him anytime, hits me right back. Questions, hits me right back, and we're talking all the time.
Lesson number 10, learn from failures.
We talk about this often, and we always talk about the fact that you can learn a lot more from the failures than you can from the successes. And you have to figure out where those landmines are, and then how to best avoid those, or help entrepreneurs, and ourselves included, figure out the clues of where those landmines are. Not that you're going to avoid all of them,
right?
But it's also when you do step on one, figuring out, okay, how do you recuperate? How do you balance back and pick yourself up?
Lesson number 11, protect your dreams.
Dreams they should be pure. And I think a lot of times, when we're born into this world, we actually wind up going backwards. And it seems like the more we mature, the more responsible our dreams become. And the more governors we put on ourselves and our ability to dream and to reimagine. And it's always a fight for us parents and for you guys to make sure that your dreams always stay pure. And so it's not a matter of pushing beyond your limitations or expectations. It's really a matter of protecting your dreams, protecting your imagination. That's really the key. And when you do that, then the world just seems limitless.
Lesson number 12, love the game.
The passion came from the love for the game. I loved everything about it, like the smell of the ball.
You love the smell of the ball?
Yes, the ball. The smell of like brand new sneakers and like the sound the ball makes when it hits the ground.
Sneakers in the gym.
Sneakers squeaking. Yeah, the ball going through the net. Like all those things I love. And so the passion comes from that, because once you have that love, you just want to be a part of this thing all the time.
Is there one moment where you can say it defined your passion for basketball? Is there a story or moment when you said, "Damn, that was it. That was like when I felt really passionate"?
No, it doesn't. It never leaves. It never leaves. Like the game is just a part of me. So it never leaves. Even now that I'm retired, everything that I've learned from the game of basketball, I've carried it over into life. Like basketball's helped me be a better person, a better friend, a better father. Well, because there's life lessons that are within the game, like communication, like unselfishness, like attention to detail, and empathy and compassion. Like all those things are in the game. And as an athlete, if we are aware of those things, it helps us become better human beings.
And you can apply that toward your post basketball days. Retirement into your business world, your future ventures? Sure.
I mean, you can apply, I was applying that even while I was playing, just in life outside of the game, and even more so now, in building a business and all these things, the kind of culture you want to have, all those things are directly learned from the game of basketball for me.
Lesson number 13, work the hardest.
I read a story that you used to play guys to 100. You'd be like, you have to stay in this gym and play me to 100. And what was the biggest margin of victory you'd ever win at?
Well, in high school, I used to spot guys 99 to 100. No kidding. But, listen, these practices are meant to be competitive. They're meant to be competitive. If your practices aren't more competitive than the games themselves, you're doing the wrong thing. And most of these teams and coaches have gotten into a mindset of resting players. Oh, it's too much. We're not going to practice light day. Phil never gave us a light day. There's no days off. You show up and you work. You practice. And practices are going to be worse. They're going to be more physical. There's going to be more trash talking. And I'm going to let you know. Right? If you didn't show up today, I'm going to let you know. And it's going to be embarrassing, and you're going to hate it. But when Game 7 rolls around, the NBA Finals, you will be prepared.
Lesson number 14, push through the pain.
For me, it was kind of the perfect series, playing the Celtics, then beating us in 08, and then having 5. I mean, we joke about that a lot, but the most important thing was beating the Celtics because of everything that they've meant to this organization. And it was a tough series for me. Most people don't know this, but I had a bone spur in my ankle. And then a couple of games in Boston, I had to leave the game, go back in the locker room and get it injected because I could barely walk. And I had a broken finger that I was playing with. I had a cast on my right finger. And then I was having to deal with Garnett, Pierce, Ray Allen, Rondo, Rasheed Watt, all these guys. And trying to figure out how to get through that series. And so It was a big relief to win. First and foremost, it was a relief to win and get out of that series alive. If I lost 2 to the Celtics, man, I've been miserable.
And lesson number 15, the last one before a very special bonus lesson, is thrive on being an outsider.
And I've always had some of my best performances on the road. You know, when fans boo, I absolutely love it. I thrive on it. They don't understand who I am. Not only am I comfortable being an outsider, that has become a source of motivation for me. So when I go to these places and you boo, it actually comforts me. Yeah.
Now we have 2 special bonus clips from Kobe that I think you're going to enjoy. And normally here I would ask you the 3-point landing questions, but instead, I think to honor his memory, I'd love to know what is your either 1 greatest memory of Kobe, or 2, what is the single lesson that you've learned the most from him that his legacy will live on through you? Let me know down in the comments below.
96 through 99 was a frustrating point. I don't know about, well, maybe a little bit for you, but for me, being one of the best bigs in the league and having that title of not winning one. I remember one day reading in the paper, oh, Shaq's averaging 20 or 30 and doing this, and the great Kareem Abdul-Jabbar said, well, he didn't win none yet.
Right.
So is he great? And that just kind of,
yeah.
You know.
Well, I one thing that, you know, I understood was your necessity to have to win one. There was a lot of pressure. And I think there was a lot of frustration because you kept seeing this kid and everybody kept saying, okay, be patient with this kid, be patient with this kid. And you're saying, listen, I don't have patience. I have to win now. And this kid needs to develop now. Remember that? I think I can remember the first time we had our first fight, and you looked and said, okay, this is crazy.
I did say that.
Yeah, I did.
Crazy.
You did. Anyway, we were playing a pickup game. We was doing a lockout season, Southwest College, playing a pickup game. We're on opposite teams.
Right.
And trash talking.
Yes.
And you kept saying, yeah, take that little. I'm like, I'm looking around. Oh, me.
Yes.
Right? And I said, well, hold on. Ain't gonna be too many more of those little, you know.
Yeah, I remember that.
And what'd you say? Well, what you gonna do about it? Well, what you gonna do about it? And then that's, the next thing I knew, I saw a big hand coming this way. And I remember going this way. And I remember throwing some lollipop. Golden Polynese came and caught. And then they all just kind of broke us apart, broke us up. I'm looking at this and I'm saying, man, he wants this thing. It affects him, right? I mean, it consumes him. And then from that moment on, I knew we spoke the same language. It doesn't matter if we had disagreements this and the other, our drive to win, like we have to win. There's no other option. We're gonna figure this out. We're gonna get this done. And we did it.
Portland has 3 timeouts left. The Lakers have 2. Bryant to Shaq.
Kobe Bryant now, he's going to be retiring after.
I remember season 1. You said, who is this kid?
His 20th season, all with the Lakers.
One of the greatest careers in basketball history.
The body just will not allow him to be what he once was any longer.
No one understands what it takes to be great.
The force that drives you to do what others don't.
The sacrifices made, all with one purpose in mind.
Push yourself to become better.
The extra seconds, minutes, hours of work put into perfecting one's game.
Lifting yourself above the rest.
To make sure your name will forever be synonymous with one word: greatness. What does it take to be great? Work ethic, determination, drive.
It takes ability, it takes a desire.
Baylor moves on Russell again, turns and puts up a tremendous field goal.
I think it takes years of players relying on you to take the big shot, make the great play.
You know, do the things that bring success to the team. That's what it's all about.
And it's getting out and measuring yourself against others. And I think that when you have an attitude like that, that's part of greatness.
At first I met Kobe. Kobe was just out of high school. He was out here for a workout, and I've never seen anyone work out as hard as Kobe.
I've never seen anybody that prepared. He was 17 years old and was ready to play NBA basketball. That's pretty amazing.
I think Jerry West was the one who said this, he said, I want this kid because this kid has more talent than anybody ever have playing for me right now. And he had a great team. Just a kid who would never take a night off. Even if it wasn't going well, it was always going to be trying to slay the dragon.
If you don't have that type of work ethic, you don't get to enjoy the benefits.
Out to Kobe.
You really want me on the team. What's your approach to recruiting?
You want first place, come play with me. You want second place, go somewhere else. Like, I would watch Magic play. I'd watch Michael play. And I would see them do these unbelievable things, and I'd say, you know, can I get to that level? I don't know, but let's find out.
That's why he's the best player in the game.
Everything was done to try to learn how to become a better basketball player. Everything. Everything. And so when you have that point of view, then literally the world becomes your library to help you to become better at your craft.
So because you know what you want, the world's giving you exactly the information you need to become better at it.
Because you know what you're looking for.
So many guys tell stories about your work ethic.
Yeah.
What was really your work ethic like, and for how long did you stay disciplined?
Well, I mean, every day. I mean, since, for 20 years. I mean, it was an everyday process and trying to figure out strengths and weaknesses. For example, jumping ability. Man, my vertical was a 40. It wasn't a 46 or a 45. My hands are big, but they're not massive. Right? So you got to figure out ways to strengthen them so your hands are strong enough to be able to palm a ball and do the things that you need to do. Quickness, I was quick, but not insanely quick. I was fast, but not ridiculously fast. Right? So I had to rely on skill a lot more. I had to rely on angles a lot more. I had to study the game a lot more. And but I enjoyed it though. So like from the time I can remember when I started watching the game, I studied the game and it just never changed. It's a good separation for me, emotionally, to be able to put myself in a place where at practice or when I'm training or during games, I switch my mind to something else. I switch my mode into something else, right? For me, it's the equivalent of Maximus, Decimus, Meridius, and Gladiator picking up the dirt, smelling the dirt, it's go time, right? So that was my mental switch. It was like an actor getting ready for a film. You gotta put yourself in that cage. When you're in that cage, you are that character. And then when you leave there, it's something completely different. But when I'm in that cage, bro, don't touch me, don't talk to me. Just leave me alone.
How did you get mentally and emotionally so strong where it doesn't bother you?
Well, you got to look at the reality of the situation. Like for me, it's not, you kind of got to get over yourself. It's not about you, man. Like, okay, you feel embarrassed. You're not that important. Like, get over yourself.
That's where you go.
Get over yourself, right? Like you're worried about how people may perceive you and like you're walking around and it's embarrassing because you shot 5 air balls. Get over yourself, right? And then after that, it's okay, well, why did those air balls happen? Got it. High school, year before, we played 35 games, max, right? Week in between, spaced out, plenty of time to rest. In the NBA, it's back to back to back to back to back to back to back. I didn't have the legs. So you look at the shot, every shot was online. Every shot was online, but every shot was short. Right? I gotta get stronger. I gotta train differently. The weight training program that I'm doing, I gotta tailor it for an 82-game season so that when the playoffs come around, my legs are stronger and that ball gets there. So I look at it with rationale and say, okay, well, the reason why I shot air balls is because my legs aren't there. I go, well, next year they'll be there. That was it.
Done. Were there some names that you looked at and says, these 3 guys are as crazy as I am?
At the time, I deal with what I've referred to as Goat Mountain. I went to Goat Mountain and I talked to Magic, Michael, Bird, Hakeem Olajuwon, Jerry West, Oscar Robinson, Bill Russell. So I would talk to them. What did you do? what were your experiences? Michael in particular, he's become my big brother. He's been my big brother since I first came in the league. And what was that process like? So I went to them and started understanding the ins and outs of the game and how they approach things and their level of detail and obsessiveness, and that's what I did. The players that had that passion but weren't willing to commit their entire lives to doing that, right? It's a choice, right? You have other things, you have family, you have all these other things that you have to do. The game can't really be your #1 priority. And so I was just looking at that like, man, this is gonna be fun.
If I'm buddies with you from high school, if I'm a cousin of yours, what happened to our relationship? How did that gravitate when you went into the league and you're determined to become the greatest, or you're determined to become one of the greatest? What happens to our relationship?
Well, it suffers.
It does suffer.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you understood that. You were okay with that.
Well, yeah. And the people that love you, like friends and family, like they know that about you.
Got it.
So they let you be you. And when you reconvene, you pick back up where you left off. Mm-hmm. But make no mistake about it, everything in between is lost, right? So those long-term relationships, the commitment of time of, taking vacation. Like I see a lot of players take vacations with other players that are close friends. And they'll just take vacations just to take vacations, or just hang out just to hang out. Like I never did that.
Why not though? Why didn't you do that?
Well, because when I retire, I didn't want to have to say, I wish I would have done more. I don't want that. I don't want that. You got a lot of people paying their hard-earned money to come watch you perform. Perform. It's your job to be in shape. It's your job to be strong enough to perform at that level every single night. And as a competitor, I'm not ducking shit. Like, it's not, oh my God, my back hurts, I'm sore, we got to play Vince Carter and Toronto Raptors tonight. We actually had this happen. We had a game against Toronto in 2000, and Vince was tearing the league up. My back was jacked. But like the perception of that, like what? Kobe's missing the game against Toronto and Vince Carter because my back was really spasming. But people will be like, what? Oh, he's ducking Vince. Excuse me? No, I don't think so. So I would be in the layup line like, okay, there's a lot of days where you can rest and recover. Today ain't one of them. Your back can bother you any other day. That shit ain't bothering me today. Wow. He gonna have to see me today. Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
If you're looking at big investments you got to make, what is the decision-making process there? Do you call? Is there first you do your own research? You take this much time. You call an advisor. Is there a system you follow?
It's pretty simple for me. It's do you understand the business? Is it a business that you can help in some form or fashion? What are the barriers of entry to that business? And then the entrepreneurs themselves, the company itself, right? Do they have a culture that you believe is sustainable? Are these leaders people that you believe in? Are they people that are obsessives? And in turn, have they created a culture of obsessiveness? So I tend to look at those 4 factors, and that's it.
That's big right there, by the way. I don't know if you guys caught that right there. That's pretty massive right there. Same determination. What's your current work schedule look like today?
It's different because I personally am not writing every word of the novels. I am not animating the films. What I have to do now is make sure that the people that we bring in, these obsessives that we bring in, are challenging themselves to do the best job that they think they can do. That's what I'm there for, is for them to constantly look in the mirror and self-assess and challenge themselves. If we have a project and you're saying, okay, I can do that, that's not the project we want. The projects that say, I don't know if I can animate that. I don't know how to write that story. I don't know how to do that. Those are the things we want, because through that curiosity, you'll reach a level that you didn't think was possible. And so running the studio, that's what I'm doing.
you're playing against the Golden State Warriors. Score is 107-109. You guys are close to getting into the playoffs. You know exactly what happens in the game. You go up, you're about to take your shot, and then all of a sudden, boom, Achilles happens, right? He went and hit the free throws, and then you walked off the stage.
Yeah.
You got the surgery done.
When I went in the trainer's room, my kids are in there, and they're looking at you and stuff, and I'm looking at them, and I'm like, it's all right. Dad's gonna be all right. It'll be fine. It'll be all right. It'll be all right. It'll be all right. As a parent, you gotta set the example. You gotta set the example. This is another obstacle. This obstacle cannot define me. It's not gonna cripple me. It's not gonna be responsible for me stepping away for the game that I love. I'm gonna step away on my own terms. And that's when the decision was made that, you know what, I'm doing it. I'm doing it.
You're a freaking beast, bro.
Hey.
You asked for my hustle, I gave you my heart. Because it came with so much more. It's the ultimate sacrifice. Greatness has a cost. It reschedules your plans for you. It puts your family and friends on hold. It makes you feel misunderstood. And it will put you in some deep, dark holes. Greatness demands everything from you. Your mind, your body, your spirit, and your soul. So what do you do when you shoot 4 air balls in a playoff game? What do you do? Do you sulk? Do you weep? When you disappointed all of your teammates, when you let down all of the fans, do you ask for sympathy? Do you ask why me? When they blast the coach for keeping you in the game, do you blame yourself? When they've drawn up their own conclusions about how your career is going to end, do you wish you could go back in time and make a different decision? Or do you get off of the plane and go straight to Palisades High and get the janitor to open up the gym and lock yourself in there until the sun comes up, and you go shoot and you drill and you relive that moment and change the outcome over and over again? Decisions shape our destiny, and obsession can be beautiful. What separated me is not a gift. It was a hunger to hunt when others would eat, a hunger to hone in when others thought they perfected. They had a crossover. They had a fadeaway. They all wanted rings, but they also had obligations. They weren't willing to cut it all off. See, it's not just about going to the court, shooting, dribbling, practicing the same move again and again. No. Lack of skill is from a lack of mind, on and off the court. From a little boy sitting on the ball in the park to a grizzled veteran on his last legs, it's been a mission from day one to impart what I know so you can better understand yourself. I'm here because the game needed me as much as I needed it. The game was my comfort, a platform to grow and teach others the same. It was where I learned about the terrors and joys of life, of ice baths and buzzer beaters, of struggle and of gold, and everything in between. It was where I transformed the darkness to come closer to the light. And it always brought a new challenge, a flaw that needed to be healed. And the game would send the medicine directly my way. And you will have to make that choice for yourself. whether that treatment would be worth it or not for you. But greatness cannot come without that cost. How do you press enough without pressing too hard? How do you go far enough if you don't go too far? How do you get 11 others to begin their relentless pursuit? To duplicate yourself, not in terms of skill, but in terms of competitive spirit. To instill the intensity, to impart that DNA so that you can be champions on the court and then off of it. How do you prove to the world who you really are? To honestly express yourself. The media will paint a story. The fans and critics will create their own. But no one's expectation, no one's, could live up to my own.
I am that killer snake. You know, and I'm stone cold, man.
My love to become more and to give more. I did everything for you because that's what you do when someone makes you feel as alive as you've made me feel.